You're listening to the Silver Lined ReLaunch, and I'm your host, Hilary DeCesare, award-winning entrepreneur and transitional coach. Each week, I'll invite you to tune into inspirational stories, revealing how you too can turn ordinary experiences into the extraordinary. Feeling stuck? I'll share step-by-step strategies to fuel your ability to experience a life where silver linings are both abundant and possible. Welcome back to the Silver Lined ReLaunch, and this is episode number 19. And I'm going to be answering that age-old question: how do you build trust? And for some of you, it might be coming up that you need to build trust in perhaps your partner, trust in your kids, in your peers, in your boss, in yourself. And I'm going to bring you back to something that just happened in the last few days. On Friday, it was my mom's birthday, and this was a tough day for me. Again, we're going to get into that at a different time. But it was just emotionally ooh, just a lot built up into this first of birthdays where my mom wasn't going to be around. And I was leaving my daughter in Los Angeles after I just moved her into her apartment, a complex that had a bunch of sophomores in it, which was so amazing. And I was still feeling a little melancholy when I got a call. And this call came in, and I immediately recognized the name, and I picked up and we started talking. And it was a former client of mine from about 9 to 10 months ago. And the voice, it was radiant. It was just filled with energy. I could feel the energy coming from the phone waves. Literally. And he said, I got to tell you, we started working together about 18 months before. And I'm going to change his name. I'm going to change a lot of any specifics that would involve who it is, because one of the things I make sure to do is I have the utmost privacy with my clients. But the stories, I'm sure, will resonate. So I choose to tell stories in the right time. And this one is just, it's one that will resonate with all of us. I know it just resonated with me, and I've shared it with a couple other clients. So I get this person, and we're going to call him Mark, and Mark is saying, "Oh my gosh, Hilary, I got to tell you what's happened to me over the last," I think he said, 10 months. And we had stopped working together about 9 months ago. And we had worked together for, like I said, about 7 or 8 months, getting him to this point. And when I first started working with Mark, he came to me. He was very depressed. He was in a low spot. He had recently changed jobs after being at a company for over 20 years where he was a top player. And he changed jobs because it was going through a acquisition, and then the other company he joined all of a sudden was having layoffs, and next thing you know, he didn't have a job, and he was out, and he was going to start looking, and he had been looking and trying to find something, and it wasn't working, and he was getting more and more of that, ego was being beaten up, and he'd had this great success, but now he was doubting everything. Doubting, should he have left? Doubting, was he too old to be entering the workforce again at a new company? Doubting his abilities, doubting everything. And what made it even worse is that his home life was really starting to struggle. He was numbing himself with with drinks, and he was trying to eat himself, to a happiness. And he was struggling with his marriage and his relationships with his kids. And we all know when one area of our life is starting to go down, what do? It's like a life raft that doesn't have enough air in it. We're trying so hard to stay on the surface, but we're slipping and we're slipping and we're slipping and we don't want to let go, so we hold on tighter. And what happens when you hold on tighter sometimes is that you end up suffocating the people around you. And that's what was happening. And so when that happens, then you start feeling worse about yourself. Can you all relate to this? Any part of this that maybe isn't quite where it should be in your life right now? Well, he came to me and we had one goal. We needed to help him get another job. And they needed to make sure that they were starting to make the money again. They had college kid, they had private school for the other, and I mean they needed money. They needed to make this happen. And so he was in a position where he didn't trust anymore, didn't trust the the idea of being able to find a really great job. He was starting to, throw in the towel and look in places that would not have made him happy. But anything, as he said, was better than nothing. So we started to work on a full blown plan, and that involved clarity and it involved really looking at what exactly did he want, and not just in one area of his life, but all areas of his life. Because the one thing that I have said time and time again is that it's like a three-legged stool. And just because one of the areas of your life is starting to, get a little wobbly, what happens is we start to focus so much on that one area, but then the other areas start to get wobbly. So you need that solid core. And where is the core? The core is the seat. And it really starts with this idea of liking yourself so that you can love yourself, so that you can love your life, so that you can, move on. But the problem is that for a lot of people, the word love is almost like, what love? Like, what are you, not a man? Or, oh God, you're all into the love, It's not, it doesn't mean you're strong. You don't have a sense of power. And I'm telling you right now, when you figure out how much love of yourself matters, it is a game changer. But that's getting way ahead of the process. So it ends up that we put together this whole entire plan around his job search, this quest. And he started to follow the plan. And he had a very clear idea of the company that he wanted to work for, specifics around that. And he would even go to certain locations and act as if, this were the place where he was going to go work, and envision it and see it as not just a possibility, but as an actual, like, fact. This is going to happen. This is where I am. It is happening for me right now. So he gets this opportunity to interview, and he gets all the way up and makes it to the final interview. And then he finds out that he didn't get it. It went to the other internal candidate. And he comes back to me and he's really upset because he thought this was it. This was going to be it. It was everything he wanted. And I said to him, what if it's not? What if there was something about it that wasn't right, that would have come out later, that would have made you realize, it wasn't what I ultimately should have taken. It wasn't what I wanted ultimately. So we got him back on the path. And really, there's a point of getting back on the path and wanting to be on the path, and then believing and feeling the emotional pull that, yes, There is a better place for you out there. Well, within 2 weeks, he had gotten another interview at a different company, and he went all the way through. And guess what? He ended up getting that job. But before he could go to the last interview, he was very concerned about what he was going to wear and, how can I show up as my best self? And he really didn't want to spend any money on something that, geez, I don't know, should I? And it was something that was holding him back. And so I ended up writing him a check and said, go buy yourself at this company. It was a suit company. And this is a very big name. Everyone would know it in the Silicon Valley. You would all know it. But I said, go get this. But sometime in the future, you're going to pay it forward. You're going to do something for somebody else because that's what life is all about. And I'm not telling you that because, oh, wow. And no, I don't do this for all my clients. In fact, it's rare that I do anything like this. But I'm telling you that because he immediately took this and went out and owned this interview. And again, he got the job. And he came back to me and he said, oh my God, it was even a more perfect opportunity for him. And I just looked at him and I said, yeah, you did it. You manifested this. You put this out in the universe based on everything that he had worked on. And so I heard from him a couple more times, and he went off and did his thing. And then I got this call Friday, and it had been about 9 months since I had spoken to him. And he said, oh my God, Hilary. And like I said, the energy was just on fuego. It was like so off the charts. And he said, well, I was only there 10 months. Others were there 12. And I became the top account manager in the entire group for the year. I made twice as much as I've ever made. I am in such a good place with my wife, with my kids. I am right now heading down to pick up my dream car. And he just paused, and you could just tell he just had just so much pride in himself. And then he said, and I have to tell you, one of my son's friends is about to take the LSAT and didn't have the money to take it. And I thought about what you said. And in that moment, I realized this was my time. And I reached in my pocket and I gave him the money he had said he needed for the LSAT. And I gave him money to get him there as well. And at that point, I'm going to have to tell you guys, it was just like, I'm even getting it right now. It's the goosebumps, not just on your arms, it's down my legs. It's just that moment of like, yeah. And I said, so, Mark, what are you thinking right now in one word summarizes our journey together? And he said, trust. Trust in me. That's what I have. I have that now, this like unwavering trust in myself and all of the possibilities that come from it. And I said, all right, so now your next step is to lean into that trust that possibilities are endless and amplify it. So what else are you thinking that you want? And he named some things. And I said, it's inevitable that they will happen. But you know what he did? He was still pushing things way too far out. I said, why? Why do they need to be so far out? Make them happen in the next year. Bring things in. And so, as I tell you this story, one, it's just a terrific story. And the silver linings around it are like wrapped on every branch. But there's also some things that you as you're listening to this saying, ah, it sounds really good, but my gosh, I don't trust my partner. I don't trust my business right now. I don't trust my friends. I don't trust my peers. I don't trust, what's going to happen in the world. I don't trust. And the list goes on and on and on. And I would say right now, the thing to trust first and foremost is you got to build trust with yourself, especially in times where either you're feeling stuck or there's the overwhelm or you're scared about like what's going to happen. You got to trust yourself. So, I want to share 5 ways that you can start down this path of trusting yourself. Number 1, I've said this already. I say it a lot. And man, when you can figure out the true meaning of this, it sends fireworks off. It literally is like that rocket ship. And it's one, like yourself so you can love yourself. But what is that? It sounds so, like love yourself cliche and everyone's, out there saying it over and over. All the gurus like love yourself, love your life, love, love, love. And it's like, ugh, just shoot me now. Well, instead, you got to like yourself first. And if you're not trusting things in your life, it's a good indication that you have lost the trust in you. And so the first thing that you have to do is start to be kind to yourself. Stop beating yourself up over the things that you haven't done to date, or that the things that have gotten you here that you think have been mistakes. The should haves, right? I should have done this. I should have done that. It's like stop shoulding all over yourself and start to be kind to you. The second one is listen internally. My gosh, there is so much noise going on right now outside of you. I mean, it is a super highway straight through the Vegas Strip on the best night of Vegas, right? The nights that everyone is crawling all over and the people are screaming and laughing and singing and doing everything just loud, loud. I want you to listen because sometimes as you go along and something comes up, there's this little like, think of it like a ping, ping, almost I'm thinking about like that irritation that comes with your phone and where it's like bing bing, but it's like this ping ping. And I want you to start to notice when whatever the sound is inside of you, whatever the feeling is, like you might feel it in your gut, right? You got that gut feeling, or you might have the sixth sense, or you might have a tingling like up and down your arms. But what is it when you say something, when you are thinking about something? Listen. But it's the listening on the inside, it's the feeling on the inside. And that's what's going to help you understand what your inner voice is trying to let you hear. Number 3 is get to know your stories that you're telling and start realizing, are these stories my own stories or are they somebody else's story? Because how can you truly trust yourself if your stories aren't even your own stories? They're stories from your parents when you were growing up, or your teachers, or your friends on every walk of life, right? I have clients that come to me and say, oh, of course, my husband ended up cheating, all men cheat. And I say, where did you come to believe that? And there usually is somebody that has taught you that belief. And when you challenge your beliefs and you start to trust, like, oh, whoa, I don't know where that came from. That's a great place to start with trusting your your inside, like your inner voice. Like, oh, wow. Okay, wait. How do I feel about this situation? That's the only question you need to ask when you start to feel that weirdness of like, I'm not why I don't know why I'm really thinking this way, or why my thoughts, and ooh, wow, that probably is because my dad always said, you got to work hard and play hard, or oh, money, doesn't grow on trees. Where do these stories come from? And how do they affect you and your ability to trust yourself? And number 4 is you gotta be your biggest fan. I mean, my gosh, we've talked a little bit about this. Think of yourself in a boxing ring and you're boxing yourself. Like you are dressed up in those little silky shorts in a different color than yourself. And you are out there and you're boxing and you're like, "Oh, you're not good enough. You're not worthy. You're not amounting to anything. Of course, your marriage failed. Of course you didn't get that promotion. Of course you didn't have a successful company." It's just such a bad state of being. And by doing that, by constantly sabotaging yourself, you are emotionally abusing you. And I know that you do not want to be in an abusive relationship. So why are you allowing yourself to be in that type of relationship with yourself? I need you to realize that that's what's happening. And when you start to I used to do kickboxing, and I remember like every once in a while they would put us with this bag, and the bag would like, you'd be hitting it. And all of a sudden it would go faster than my hands would go, and it like almost hit me back in the head. And I think back on that and I'm like, that's what we do when we start to think that we can do things and we start to not trust ourselves that we can. It's that bag hitting us back, blocking us, moving us back. And so I want you to really be aware of that and turn it around and start to be like, if you were the cheerleader of you, you know yourself better than anyone. How would you act to yourself? If you were in the sidelines and you were out there and you were watching yourself play football or powder puff football or whatever you're playing, how would you support you? I mean, I'd be over on the sidelines with my little like cheerleading skirt. I never was a cheerleader, by the way, but I would be that cheerleader. I would have the biggest palms. I would have the cutest outfit, and I would be like, go, Hillary, go. So, how are you being there for yourself? And last but not least, number 5, my biggest, I would say, this is the largest, the biggest thing that you can be to yourself is in high integrity. Why is that? Integrity is keeping your word to yourself. And I've can't tell you how many times I have people commit and then they go back, and then they commit and they go back, and they commit and go back. And there's story after story about people that when they really want something, they are committed to doing it. And there is no waffling. There is no like, well, maybe I'll do this tomorrow because, and they give excuses. No. I need you to be in the highest level integrity. And where does that start? It starts with keeping your word. Keeping your word. When you say something, you do it. Try it for an hour. And if that doesn't work, try for 10 minutes. And if that does work, try for half a day. Try it for a full day. But what you will notice is that you tell yourself a lot of stories. You let yourself out of a lot of things, a lot of situations. And so, how can you trust you if you're not keeping your word? And so, I want you to be working on these. Again, number 1, like yourself so that you can love yourself. And that's be kind. 2 is listen internally to yourself when you have that inner ping. 3 is get to know your stories that potentially aren't even your stories, they're somebody else's. 4 is be your biggest fan. And 5 is integrity. Be in your word. Own your word or don't say it. Anyway, so that hopefully gives you a start down this path of possibility. And right now we have a program going on And because it was my birthday, this is going to be a free program for you. It's the 7 days how to get unstuck challenge, 7 minutes, 7 days a week. And you will be able to get that wonderful gift for you. At this point, build trust. Build trust in yourself. There's no reason that Mark is the only one that should have these amazing things happen in not one area of his life, but all areas. But as he said, it started with learning how to trust himself. Thank you so much for tuning in today. If you felt a connection to this episode of the Silver Lined ReLaunch, please head over to iTunes now. It would mean so much to me if you would leave a good review and help others find silver linings as well. And don't forget, you can have immediate access to all of the bonuses and notes from the show today in our treasure chest, which you have access to for free by texting 55444 and typing in treasure chest. Or you could go to our private Facebook group, The Relaunch Effect, Living a Life You Love. Together we've hit the reset button for you, turning your transitions into a transformation. Until next time, don't forget, there's always a silver lining.